name is Dr. Lori Roth, and here she is again, right now.
We have double the fun. We have two Monicas. Monica K. Sun from the Q Center of Missing Persons, and we'll find out more about how to contact her. And Monica, the mother of a young man who, I'm looking at his picture, another handsome man, missing from Jasper, New York since September 30th, 2011. Nieko Lisi. Did I say Lisi correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
And 18 years of age, just a kid. And, Monica, I can't even imagine, what do you know about him missing, about this event? Just talk to us.
Well, we know that on September 30th, he and a friend of his had been to my brother's home, and they told my brother they were going out of town for the weekend, going to go to Buffalo. And I text messaged Nieko that night, Friday evening, and he texted me back. He told me that he had grabbed his sneakers and some clothes from the house, and that he'd talk to me later. And on Saturday, October 1st, I tried getting in touch with him, and he didn't respond to me at all via text or phone. And that evening, my mother had called him at around 5 p.m., and he answered the phone and said, "Hey, Nana, I can't talk right now. I'll call you back."
Was that unusual when he did that?
It was very strange because he was always somebody that would talk to you on the phone and never leave anybody hanging. So when he hung up from that phone call, none of us have heard from him since. Which is very out of character for him.
Did it sound like he was talking with somebody when he said to Nana, "I can't talk right now"? He was obviously in the middle of something, it seemed like. Did she have an idea what it was? Was he talking to someone else?
She didn't know. She wasn't sure if he was alone or not. And we don't know at this point because we don't know who was with him other than the one friend that my brother did see with him. We don't know if he could have picked someone else up. We don't know if he dropped someone off. We don't know. We're at a loss.
Now, what do you know about your boy? His thinking, his emotional state, what was going on in his life? I mean, you've probably gone through every trail. What was his life like?
He struggled. He had his ups and downs. He was a 18-year-old teenager who thought he knew everything and wanted to grow up real fast. And he had struggled with some things recently in the last year or so. We felt that he was overcoming those things. I'm not going to paint my son as a saint, however.
But you know what, though? Your son is missing, and this is the most important part of this.
That's right.
You know, Monica and I, Lori, we see this all the time. You don't need to make an excuse. He's missing, period.
That's right.
And that night, or when he leaves with this friend, what subsequently, where's the friend? What happens? Does the friend come back? Does the friend go with him after this?
The friend left with him, and the next day, the friend arrived in Romulus, Michigan at his parents' home. And unfortunately, this young man died several days later due to his own hand. He died in his family's home. So that leaves us with no one else to talk to. We have no one that saw my son in Michigan. No one can put him there.
How did they get there? Was it a car? Was it a bus?
We don't even know that for a fact. We know that they were in a truck in my brother's driveway. That the young man he was with claimed that was his grandfather's, and we found out very early on that the truck did not belong to this young man's grandfather. We don't know who the truck belonged to.
In the Huffington Post, because it's today, Robert Lohr wrote about it, en route in Buffalo when he disappeared, he was last seen around 2 p.m. September 30th when he and his friend, Robert Knight, and that's Knight, age 20, stopped at Lisi Uncle's home in Addison, New York. Yes. Now, so when then this happens and he goes, does the family out there tell you where your son is? Because he's got a few days. Your son's missing by this point. In a few days. What's Robert Knight doing all this? Is he talking to you? Is he telling anybody anything?
No, I spoke with Robert Knight's grandmother on October 1st, and she refused to give me the phone number to her son in Romulus, Michigan. She said that her grandson was there. Her son was upset, not knowing why he appeared back in Romulus unannounced. They were having a family issue at that point, I guess, with Robert returning there. But no one ever told us that they saw my son, didn't see my son. No one told us that my son indeed dropped Robbie off there. I don't even know that for a fact.
So you don't know where he was October 1st?
My son or Robbie?
Your son.
My son, I do not know.
Okay. So, but you do, everybody does know where Robert Knight is?
Everybody knows where Robert Knight was, yes, on October 1st.
Does he do anything between the October 1st and the time that he dies of was it an overdose or something? That
was, according to police, it was an overdose.
Okay.
And again, my husband called Romulus, Michigan, on October 5th. We obtained the phone number eventually from the grandmother. My husband called there and talked to Robert's father, and he didn't offer anything up on my son. He said he had never seen my son. He knew that Robbie told him that's how he got to Michigan, and my husband wanted to speak with Robbie, and Robbie's father said, well, he's not here. The Michigan police have picked him up to take him in for questioning. And that was the last conversation that we had with any family.
So, Monica, case on a case like this, you've got a travel route that's long, from one location all the way to a few states over. What do you do?
Well, obviously, Mr. Knight, he went home because he knew something happened. That's why he went home. So something probably took place closer to their destination. The bottom line is the vehicle. Vehicle has to be found, and that's where all your clues are going to lie. So, I don't know to extent, again, we just got this case literally just in the past 24 hours, but I intend to find out, what kind of flight plans have been made, because there are definite areas to be searched along roadsides, get the word out. Again, no one knows this child's missing. Yes, people that are close to him, people that love him, the other family and whatnot. But as far as the general media, the general public, they're just now finding out, if you will. So, we have to come up with some kind of campaign to get some information. But, right away, I would say, helicopter and start, getting some flight plans down and start looking for this vehicle. He's probably in or about that vehicle, and probably something happened, and that's why the friend abandoned him and went home, to the closest structure, and then maybe, from whatever took place at that point, we don't know whether it was guilt or just accident or whatnot, and, God rest his soul. But the bottom line is he had ample enough time to tell somebody something, and then I also wonder if he did. So, I'm just getting this case, but I already have a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I think that the family is tired. They've been doing this on their own, and now that we've got his case, we're gonna kick it up a notch and try to get them some answers that they deserve. There's a large area, from point A to point B or whatnot, but I think he's probably closer to point A.
How many miles are we talking? How large of an area?
I haven't even looked at the mileage yet or anything, but you're talking a significant amount of drive time. But again, how did this child get back home? Nobody seems to know anything, and I'm bothered by this in any case. You've got people, especially adults, they have to know how somebody shows up at their house. They hear a car in the drive, something. You can't just say, well, they just showed up.
Well, if they don't live there, they're not going to have keys, Monica. They have to open the door and let them in.
Exactly. And somebody, if they had a ride, somebody should have been in the drive. You hear, I don't know about anyone else, but if somebody pulled up in my driveway, I pretty much know they're there. So that's what I'm saying. There's something missing, and the adults, not even trying to reach out and help this family find their son. I know they're in their own grief, but they weren't prior, and I just don't understand why these grown adults, like she said, wouldn't give them the phone number, whatnot. I mean, they're looking for their son. Come on, I don't understand. That angers me that people are being secretive and trying to protect whatever, I don't know, but, this child, definitely something's wrong. He hasn't made contact with any of his family. Obviously, he was close to his family and friends, and again, he had a cell phone. I need to get into that information and find out what's going on there, and I think that the whole plan will fold out from there.
So the truck he was driving with his friend has not been found, and that needs to be found, and then his friend died of a drug overdose later.
Yes.
Very shortly within the time, and I think that this is important. And, grieving, they know where their son is, and if they're listening, because they might be, or somebody that knows them, one of Nico's friends or Robert's friends, if they're listening, if you know the family, if you know someone, if you know something, because Robert has been properly buried. He's been found. Nico has not, and that's not fair. It's not about what you know. It's about coming forth and providing information.
Where people can call and where they can go on the other side of these messages. This is very disturbing. Hold on.
No, this is not American Idol. So keep your shirt on and keep your powder dry. Dr. Lori Roth will be back in just mere moments. Her name is Dr. Lori Roth, and here she is again, right now.
Monica, this is a short segment. Nico's mom. Was Nico ever the kind of kid that would just go off on a big trip because he felt like he was a manly man and so independent and not tell you anything? Would it be like him to just disappear for a while and do his thing?
Never. In 18 years that my son was on this earth, I never not knew where he was. If I did not hear from him, I could call my sister, I could call my brother, I could call his dad. Someone in his family always knew where he was. And a typical 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, when he was 17, if he was going to go to a party and didn't want his mom to know, he could have lied to me, but at least he contacted me. He would text me, he would call me. There was never a period of time ever in my son's life that he has ever disappeared with us not knowing where he was. So
that to have nothing and no contact is just unheard of, and that's ridiculous. I mean,
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the other Monica, this is just a minute left probably in this segment, but the plan now, you've just gotten this case, is to establish a grid and go searching. You have a few clues. What are your thoughts, Monica Casson?
Well, basically, it's establishing information and getting the facts, and then getting it up on a map and trying to come up with a goal plan, and that's exactly what we'll do. When we get cases in, we have to, see what information we have to work with, see what information is still obtainable, and then, identify what we don't have, and then try to come up with some kind of plan. Just in the short time that I've gotten this case, like I said, it's not even been a full 24 hours.
No.
I've got something working already in my head.
Not American Idol.
I love it. We'll be right back and give out phone number and website on the other side.
Dr. Lori Roth will be back in just mere moments. Her name is Dr. Lori Roth, and here she is again, right now.
We're talking with a brave mother of a very handsome 18-year-old young man who disappeared, Nieko, and how tragic. Just disappeared, and nobody seems to know. His truck is missing. His friend that was with him killed himself with an overdose not very much later. And so Monica Casson is just received this case, and she's going to go and start working on a grid and working some clues. Monica Quezon, I mean, I'm saying your last name because there's two Monicas, but how do we begin to work this? You're going to look at the travel area, which was quite a long ways, that his truck has not been found, but there's suspicions. You know, he may have been in trouble. There may have been drugs. Something may have gone wrong because it wasn't like him to disappear.
Right, and I think the bottom line is you know, what information, like I said at the last time, is finding the information that's obtainable, putting that together. You know, sometimes if you only have one or two main facts and everything else is rumor, get rid of that. Just get the two facts and work off of that. You know, I have a method that I work with as long as I do have some facts to put together that we can usually come up with some solid plan. And like I said, just getting this case, I've still got to make contact with law enforcement. I've still got to interview some family members. So gathering the information and getting a better sense of what was going on and other information in the case is going to help me greatly to get a plan together.
What about tattoos? Did he have a specific tattoo that is recognizable, Mom?
He had a tattoo on the back of his right arm. It was 4 Chinese symbols between his shoulder and his elbow.
Was it bright or was it just a engraving?
It was
colorful?
4 symbols, Chinese symbols.
Okay.
That were a little bit larger than, let's say a 2x2 each. I don't know.
But were they colored in? Were they pretty? Or were they just
red? It was
red. It was red. So that's something that you would see, that would shine, that would show up.
Right. And on
You'd remember it.
On his abdomen, he had 2 large tattoos, one of a guardian angel on his right side, and on his left side there was it was a woman kneeling down with a devil's tail on his left side, and they were quite large tattoos.
All right. So Monica, in a missing persons case, somebody would see that. Wouldn't a tattoo stand out like that?
The tattoo on his arm would. If he's wearing clothing, you know, the other tattoos wouldn't. But, you know, he's very handsome-looking guy. He has a very unique look, but obviously the tattoo is a big indicator. And I do want to say that the New York State Police Troop E at 607-776-6866 can be contacted in this case. And, you know, and any kind of information with that. I did want to get that out there. He is missing from Addison, New York, but obviously if you go to his profile, there's you know, the information about his tattoos. There's actually a picture on our website of one of the tattoos. It would be on his right side.
Can you give out that number again and then give out your Q Center line in our last few seconds?
Absolutely. The New York State Police Troop E, it's at 607-776-6866, and that's New York law enforcement that's handling his case. And then they can always call us on our 24-hour line, which is 910-232-1687. They can go to his profile and submit an anonymous tip if they want to. You know, call law enforcement. You know, somebody saw something. Somebody knows something.
By now that God, country, and our moral heritage.
Well, thank you all for joining me.
Our great country needs your fervent prayers. Talk to your friends. Talk to your enemies. Spread the word about the Roth Show. Check out Lori's articles, archives, and great sponsors. Go to therothshow.com. Remember to pray for our country, and remember to be back next time, right here for the Roth Show with Dr. Lori Roth.